Okay, here we have the HU448-MVB, which stands for movable box. This machine has a 9-foot box on it. It's electric, 3-phase, 480 volts. We'll start with starting the machine. Inside your control panel box, you've got a 400 amp main here. You'd hook in your 3 lugs here and your service ground at the bottom. Everything is pre-wired. Your 50 horse motor starters are here, and then you have a 2-horse motor here, control transformer, fuses, control transformer, fuses. Start stop buttons for each one. You got 4 50 horse, 1 30 horse, and 1 2 horsepower. This is your auto off hand that would control the cylinder for your box. When you start these motors up, you're going to want to start 1 50 horsepower motor, let it run all the way up to full RPM, and then start a second one, and then so on until you get to 4. Never try to start them all at the same time, or you'll trip the breaker. You always want to start your belt first before you start any motor, so that you don't pack it up underneath your machine. When all of the motors are running and your box is loaded and your pump is on, you turn this to the auto position and your box will start moving automatically. And this limit switch here on the center is what controls that. Back and forth, these are your adjustment arms. This will adjust how far you need to go back, or your cylinder strokes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. If you want to stop the box and leave everything else on the machine running, you're going to turn this to the off position. When you turn this to the off position, your box will stop. If you need to kill all of it, you would just pull your main down to stop everything. Here you have your valve. This valve is what controls your cylinder back and forth movement. These are flow controls that will control the time it takes your cylinder when it comes back to pause to move forward, so that your cylinder doesn't snatch. If you want to increase the time of how long your cylinder pauses for, you're going to screw these in. If you want to decrease it, you're going to unscrew this and screw this out like this. Increase will speed it up, decrease will slow it down. Now, the speed of your cylinder is controlled by this flow control valve, 10 being the max, fastest, and 1 being the slowest. This is your gauge here. On your temperature gauge, your gauge should be running anywhere from 500 to 1000 psi. That's the way we have it set up from here. We can increase that if we need to by breaking this nut loose and screwing in. That will increase your pressure. Shouldn't have to do that. Your cooler is here. You're going to want to blow this cooler out once a day at least to keep the debris and dust out of it, so that your oil will run cool. Filter is there. You're going to change that about every 300 hours. Fill, oil level, temperature, pump. Front pump here controls your cylinder. Back pump here will control your log deck or either a belt, depending on how your model is set up. In this particular instance, this one on the back is controlling a log deck. Grease fittings on your motors. Grease fitting here and here on each one. You're going to want to grease those. Belt conveyor here. This is an electric version, so the back pump is for the log deck, and this belt works off of a button. Sometimes they'll work off of hydraulics, depending on what model you have and specs that are needed for the machine. You're going to want to keep an eye on this to make sure that you have fluid here. When your fluid is low or you don't see it anymore, you're going to refill your fluid here with gear oil only. Chain here. When you adjust your belt, your adjusting arms are here. If the belt is tracking too far this direction, to get it to move over that way, you're going to want to loosen this nut and tighten this in. It will push this belt out and make the belt track this way. You're going to want to do that in small increments. Don't push it too far. If you push it too far, then it will stretch the belt on one side. Tensioners for your pulleys are here. To tighten your belt up, you'll loosen the 4 bolts that are on your motor. Loosen these up and screw in to pull back, or screw out to push forward to loosen. There's an idler roller under here. This idler roller is no grease required. Head bearings are here. Grease fittings are located in these holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same on the other side. Belt tension, same thing here. Right here, you're going to loosen these, break your back nut, screw in to make the belt go that way, and screw out to make it go this way. You will adjust both sides at one time. Pump pulley is here. Really no maintenance here other than eyeballing your Lovejoy coupling on this to make sure that it's not rubbing. Grease fittings on your 30 horse motor, one here and one on the back. We'll look into the box now. Knife change. If you notice on these heads, the knife is set to the bevel. We have a knife setting tool that will do that. To loosen these, you can use your standard battery powered impact. You're going to stick it in here. You're going to loosen these up. You don't want to take them all the way out, but when you loosen these up all the way across, you'll be able to slide your knife up and slide another one in and tension one on the outside, one a little slightly off center, one off here, and one off here. And then you'll be able to set your tool on top of this and take a hammer and tap it down till your tool touches on both sides of the head here. That will be how you will tension your or set the knife height on your machine. If you ever need to pull a head on your machine, there's bolts located here, one there, there, there. Same on each end here. On the outside, there's 4 here. There's 4 here. You're going to want to take this limit switch. There's 2 bolts to hold the limit switch on. You're going to take that off. Go around to the other side. 4 bolts here. And 4 bolts here. You'll take this yellow guard off on both sides, just self-tapping screws. And slide your box all the way to the end. Down here. And if you see this center line here, the whole plate will come up and your heads will be exposed. That's if and only if you would ever need to pull a head. Grease fitting holes on this side. Box. When you first load this machine, what you're going to want to do is you want to get 3 slats, lay one back here, one in the center of the 2 heads and one at that end, and then pile your wood up on top of that. By doing that, you'll give your heads the opportunity to spin. Once your heads are started and they rev up, then you can start your box and it'll shave those pieces out from underneath your wood, and you'll be able to start into your wood that's inside of your box. You never ever want to drop wood directly on top of these heads without something there, because when you do, you won't be able to start your heads and you'll wind up locking a head down and tripping a starter or a breaker. Your wheels here on your box, there and here, they're greaseless. You won't have to grease these wheels or these V-wheel rollers. If you ever need to change the roller, one on this end or one on that end, what you're going to do is take this pin out. This plate that holds your cylinder will unbolt. There's 2 1/2-inch bolts that go through the plate there. You're going to unbolt that, take your pin out of the back, and if you notice there's a cutout on the track here, you're going to roll this roller here all the way back to here, and you won't have to take your box out, but you can just lift up the back of your box, slide the wheel out, put another one in, drop it down, and tighten it back down. Same thing applies on this end. These rollers, you'll just be able to push the box, unhook your cylinder from this one place here. Just unhook your pin here. Push your box forward until it clears here, and you can change your roller right here. Daily maintenance will be checking tracking on the belt, making sure it's tracking properly.